Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller, the podcast. I'm joined by Seth.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for finding us on the internet.
Now, these shows originally aired on Brookings Radio, but now they're all here for your enjoyment. I hope you like it.
There you go. Sit back, enjoy the show, relax. Let us know if you want to see anything on future shows. As we said, this comes out live in the Brookings area, but enjoy this archive episode.
Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller.
One area where regulation continues to stifle economic development is microbrewing. South Dakota statutes limit the ability of our homegrown craft breweries to grow and thrive.
That's South Dakota Governor Dennis Dugard highlighting the state's growing craft beer industry. During last week's State of the State address, the governor went on to call for some changes in South Dakota beer and alcohol laws. Seth Cook of Wooden Legs Brewing in Brookings.
That's cool, 2018, and we've got the governor and his staff and a lot of the legislators have started to talk about microbrewing. I guess we're now in the Wooden Legs is, just sneaking in the fifth year here. And what we have become is almost old on the street. I guess it doesn't matter the time frame for how long we've been around. The time is now in 2018 to see if we can all work together and find some clever and intelligent and well-thought ways to improve our industry through some legislation.
The governor highlighted a couple of areas for possible change.
Current law caps microbreweries at 5,000 barrels per year. Compare that to Montana's cap of 60,000, Wyoming 50,000, North Dakota 25,000. Again, South Dakota 5,000. And in addition, South Dakota does not allow an in-state microbrewery to sell its product directly to a retailer. Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa all allow that.
Governor Dugard says he's proposing bills that will make it easier for the state's breweries to compete with those in neighboring states. Seth says the state's officials are starting to take note of the impact that craft breweries are already having and that it could be even more significant.
I think the governor's office and others have begun to see even the impact over the last couple of years that North Dakota, Wyoming, Minnesota, and Iowa, and Montana have been able to get from their breweries by updating and doing some of the and providing some legislation that's a bit more progressive for what the industry is.
More Beer Untapped with Perry Miller is on the way. Welcome back to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller as we discuss possible changes to South Dakota laws covering brewing. The governor highlighted the industry in his recent State of the State address and mentioned a couple of possible changes. Perhaps the most significant would allow microbreweries to distribute their own beer. Seth Cook at Wooden Legs Brewing in Brookings says if the law were changed, they would not stop using a distributor, but it would make some things much easier.
Opportunities literally outside of our back door that don't make sense for the distributor, that don't make sense for the brewery, and they don't make sense for the retailer. There's three entities there that this relationship doesn't seem to make sense for. Or I always use the example of Old Market. Old Market has been a great supporter of Wooden Legs Brew, and they always have for a number of months, as long as it's available, has our beer on draft there, as often as they can get it and as often as we can provide it. But what that is I can literally see their restaurant from the front of my brewery. But in order if they were to run out of a beer, and let's say they have a busy Saturday and all of a sudden they need a beer for the next week, if that process, it requires me to sell it to my distributor that drives it to Sioux Falls, puts it into their warehouse, engages their sales staff to come back up to sell it again through the liquor store to the retail establishment there. And for the stuff that I can see from my brewery, that doesn't make a lot of sense. That doesn't make a lot of sense to the distributor either.
Governor Dugard also proposes raising the limit on the amount of beer that a brewer can produce from the current 5,000 barrels to some 30,000 barrels, which is about 3 times more than is currently made in the entire state.
And honestly, that now I guess it's if this proceeds as he says, it's our charge to fill this. I mean, I think it's progressive. I think it's a good idea for the governor to look forward and say, this can happen. This isn't just crystal ball saying we want this to happen, but this can happen. We can look at a lot of areas within driving distance of our state, very short driving distance, where this has happened. And why can't we do that as well? Why can't what happens in Fargo happen in Sioux Falls? Why can't what happens in Sheridan, Wyoming, and Gillette, Wyoming, and Billings, Montana happen in Rapid City? I can't think of a single reason we can't. Why do we pigeonhole ourselves? Why have we allowed to put a limit on our creativity, a limit on our growth for no good reason? Why have we put an obstruction there? And I think that's what the governor has recognized. He said, let's remove this obstruction. Let's remove this limitation.
There are other proposed changes that could also help wine and cider makers and craft distillers. Also today, let's find out what's happening at Wooden Legs in the coming days.
LAN party again on the 20th. Bring your PCs. Actually, we're going to have some Switches as well from Nintendo. So for those of you who aren't familiar, the LAN party, it happens all day. We pile into the event space. We all network our computers together and we play video games. Oh, it's actually as much fun as that sounds. We have a lot of fun. We drink beer. We'll challenge each other. Saturday the 27th, we're doing a hockey bus again here. So you turn up at the pub. You can buy a ticket through us. The ticket gets you some food here. It gets you a beer at the game. Gets you a ticket to the game. So follow us on Facebook, but put it on your calendars. That's Saturday, the 27th of January.
Finally today, let's check in with Drew Eklund at Brookings Liquor Store. He says they have some local beers on tap for your growler fill.
We have a new brewery out of Sioux Falls, Remedy Brewing Company, and our first offering from them is called Queen Bee. It's an Imperial Honey Cream Ale, $10.24 for a 64-ounce growler fill, made with locally sourced honey. Queen Bee does an outstanding job of balancing its sweetness with a crisp, clean mouthfeel and a touch of citrus hops. The next one on tap is from Bank. It's Hop Lab Orange, $11.52 for the 64-ounce pour. This version of Hop Lab features Simcoe hops, which gives the beer a citrus flavor. There's also a stronger bitterness and earthiness to this one.
New packaged beers at the Brookings Liquor Store include Brow Brothers Rye Wine, Odell Settle Down Brown, and Sierra Nevada Hop Bullet. That's it for this week's show. Until next time, drink local and drink responsibly. Thank you for listening to this archived edition of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Feel free to listen to other episodes, and if there's anything you'd like us to talk about on a future show, please let us know. Thanks again.